Lekker, ons rol. My gunsteling gesegde is dis beter om konstant goed te wees as soms uitmuntend.
Toe het ek besef, maar daar's heeltemal 'n ander wêreld, daar's 'n ander dimensie.
It's not like winning the lottery where you put yourself out there and then it happens to you. You have to put yourself out there, but then the hustle starts.
Your slogan is hire better people faster. It says over 90% candidate satisfaction, 70% time saved on traditional interviews, 250% return on investment, and it is used in 130 countries worldwide. That's Wamly. And
That is.
It's your baby.
It is.
Who are you and what do you do for a living?
Francois de Wet, husband, 37 years old, born in Pretoria, and then I went to study psychology in Potch. That was a 7-year. It actually does take that long, but yeah, 7 wonderful years at university, and then came back to Pretoria to start my career as an organizational psychologist, with absolutely no intent to one day be a tech founder of a business. And yeah, I don't look at those stats as often. So when you say them, you know, it's amazing, and it makes me very proud.
Do you take time to reflect on what you've built over the last 4 years?
Not enough. I think it's such an incredibly fast-paced environment, and to try and build tech and solve a problem in a context like South Africa is as rewarding as it is challenging. And the way we go about building Wamly is very iterative, small experiments, trying to be as close as possible to the clients and gather feedback. So I should make more pockets of time to reflect. But I guess, you know, as part of who I am, I try and create a lot of space to be alone. But a lot of it's forward looking and not as much backward looking.
Yeah. Okay. Francois, can you share the story behind Wamly? Where did the idea come from, and where did it start?
Yeah. So I think back to my story, getting back, all psychologists, irrespective of the channel that you decide on, have to kind of do an internship of sorts. And you can't really decide where you land up in. So I was very fortunate to land an internship at a company called Top Talent Solutions, and they specialize in psychometric assessment. So just for the listeners, industrial psychology is one of the streams of psychologists, and our context is the world of work. So it's different to clinical or counseling or educational psychologists. But this specific consulting firm does psychometric assessments to big organizations who have budget for assessments. And I remember so often that I would give feedback based on your assessment results to the hiring panel for a selection decision. So there were top 2 or 3 candidates. Who must we appoint? I give feedback of the results, and then the panel goes, no, that's not what we saw in the interview. And then there was like this healthy debate and argument around, well, why are the assessments different to what I observed in the interview? And I think that's one part of the story. I got curious. What is happening during the interview? I think the second part is the same organization really taught me that technology can play a vital role even in human resources, and even more so in human behavior. And I think the curiosity, the opportunity to work with tech, and then I think lastly, just my own appetite for risk. I remember telling my wife, listen, I'm going to resign. We have 1 month's salary in the bank. Do you back me? She said, are you crazy? I said, probably yes. Do you back me? She said, yes. And I kind of, that was it. And so.
So you decided there to explore this idea that you had?
No, not yet. I knew that I wanted more. I knew that I had a fire and a hunger in me to build something. But at the time, I didn't know exactly what that would be. So for the next 18 months, I was just consulting.
Okay. Take me back to maybe before that.
Yeah.
What kind of teenager were you
Okay.
at school? What school?
Yeah, I was in Afrikaans Hoërseunskool, Affies. I was a big tennis player. So I come from a family of tennis players.
It's against sports. So I have a theory maybe on sports plays a massive role in a lot of entrepreneurs' path.
Yes.
It teaches discipline, it teaches losing, it teaches a lot of stuff. I mean, I interviewed Adrian Rutman, amazing cricketer. Everyone that I speak to, sport plays a hell of a role in their shaping and forming of this will to win and actually just make something of it.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. I think if you go down into those competencies, discipline, perseverance, resistance, specifically in tennis, it's quite an alone sport, right? You're on the court by yourself. Like, you can't speak to the coach unless you're playing doubles. You don't have a partner. It's you, the net, and the opponent, and the environment. And it's interesting that you say that, because a lot of our environment now and what I've been going through as a founder resembles a lot that happened on the tennis courts. Yeah.
Paddle, or are you playing paddle?
I am playing paddle now, but I'm more playing golf. So I've stopped playing tennis. Okay. I'll play paddle when I get invited every now and again, but I play religiously golf every Saturday.
Okay, and take me through that upbringing.
So it was always a dream of mine to become a professional tennis player. So I was really, really serious about it, and I actually wanted to go over to the States and go and play college tennis. But I was born with a heart condition. I've had 2 heart operations in my life, and so in my teenage years, the doctors kind of, explained that, listen, you won't actually be able to, your heart won't be able to keep up with the physical demand of a pro tennis player. But I think, I was in boarding school at Office, and if I think back, it was sport first, tennis first. There weren't too many distractions from girls around because it's a boys' school. I wasn't too keen or interested too much in the actual subjects or academics. I didn't do bad, but I remember I did a lot of debate, and fast forward 20 years later, I do find myself a lot on stage and with a mic and using it. But the teenage years, I didn't particularly enjoy school. I wanted to get it done. I found it quite boring and irrelevant. So I really focused a lot on the tennis.
Okay, and take us through that 18 months of you consulting.
Yeah.
How did it went, and also when did the ball drop for Wamly?
Yes. So at the time, I had a big network in the HR environment. So I was attending many conferences, speaking at these conferences. I wasn't allowed to, and I didn't want to go after the clients that were mine at TTS from an assessment perspective, but I was able to approach them with a different offering: training, presentation, facilitation, coaching, leadership development, because those are things that fell out of the domain of the company I worked for. And so I just immediately tapped into my network and started saying yes to everything and anything. And I think somewhere along the line, I realized that this is all time-based. You're selling time. And it was very fulfilling at the time, and I really enjoyed it. But I knew that the longevity and the scalability around that will inevitably hit a ceiling. And my dad is a doctor, and to this day, he's 66, and he's still working 14 hours a day. So I was like, I actually miss this idea of the tech and the consulting playing in this beautiful symbiosis together. And so that is when it started. I got a dev house in India. I would have extra money left at the end of every month. I had a blueprint of the idea of the video interview tool, which is Wamly. And every month we would just build, like building a house with cash, until we had like a first version that was ready to go back to these very clients that trusted me and that I had a good relationship with. And I was like, didn't charge them anything. And I was like, listen, I have this thing. Do you want to check it out? We are the first local provider of video interview in Africa. So at the time, it even to this day, it's not that well known yet. I mean, we've done a lot in the last 4 years to educate the market, but 4 years ago, it was like, are you going to be an early adopter and try this new shiny bell, or not? And fortunately, there were clients that did try it out.
What was the challenges in the early stages for you? You have this product that's maybe something, it's maybe not. What was the major issue that you had there?
Yeah. Well, let me straight go to technical. Like, it literally collapsed at some clients. Like, it wouldn't work. And so I think back then, one of the principles I vividly remember is having the mindset that you build it once and it's done. And to this day, we're sitting right next to the dev room. And to this day, we have 7 developers coding 24/7 on Wamly. But back then, I thought, it's done. Like, this is going to work. So that was a big challenge, is the mindset around there's never going to be a finalized version. There'll just be iterations of it. I think secondly, and this is one of the things that Marnus, and I'm sure we'll speak about him, that he taught me, is you can't side hustle a tech business. In fact, you can't side hustle any business, but you can't particularly side hustle a tech business. So I try to kind of keep the consulting and the tech alive at the same time, and 1 or 2 other things that I was doing. And up until a point where he actually confronted me and said, listen, if you, and this was before him and I joined forces, but if you're serious about any sort of tech product, that needs to be your everything. Like, you need to be obsessed with it. Eat it, sleep it, drink it, live it. It's your baby, yeah.
Let's talk about Marnus. Where did he come in?
Yeah, so I as I said earlier, I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. I don't have a story where when I was 13, I was the guy selling the condensed milk in poses. Like, it's not my story. No. So when I ventured out by myself, I wasn't an entrepreneur. I was just self-employed. And but I decided, well, I'm going to start reading books. And one of the books I picked up was 90 Rules for Successful Entrepreneurs, which Marnus wrote, and started following him, going to his talks. And then the one day, I remember in the Slow Lounge in Cape Town, there he sat in the corner by himself, earphones in, working on the computer, and I just walked up to him and introduced myself, and we started chatting. We were on the same plane. We exchanged numbers, and yeah, he contacted me. And the next moment, I started coaching him for 8 months. And we built this beautiful relationship, first professional and then became friendship. And we drew really close. And so he saw the video interview tool for the first time at one of his businesses where I helped him hire accountants. And that's where and how he fits into the picture.
I asked this to another interview that I did. I asked him, how big of does luck play a major part in your success story? And it seems to me that I want to ask you, does luck play a role in this? Right timing, right place. I mean, you walked into and a beautiful relationship came out of that. Do you believe in that?
I do, but in a slightly different way. So I believe that life will present you with opportunities. So in the moment, I could decide, am I going to grab a awkward selfie without him knowing? Am I going to tell someone about it later? I saw Marnus. Or am I going to walk up and introduce myself? Now, I had no agenda of why I wanted to do that, except go and tell him I liked your book. Thank you. At that exact moment, I didn't think about the video interview tool as a business in the future. So does luck play a role? Absolutely. It's what you luck. It's not like winning the lottery where you put yourself out there and then it happens to you. Like, you have to put yourself out there, but then the hustle starts.
You have to do something.
You have to do something. Are you going to grab the opportunity? Are you going to be vulnerable? Are you going to take a risk? Like so there's competence, there's timing, there's luck, and then there's boldness and balls all together.
We had the conversation this morning about the balls, and you certainly need some balls if you want to be in this game. Just a bit of background still on your story. Why you? If I ask you, why do you think it's you that's sitting here today? Is it that spirit of maybe not giving up, taking the opportunity that's presented to you? I mean, why you? Why do you think it's you?
You know, it's interesting that you use those exact words because just earlier I spoke about my 2 heart operations. My wife has got a brain tumor. Everybody's got a cross, right? Everybody's got heartache and hardship that they have to deal with. But at a very young age, I decided to say, why not me? And so a part of my answer would be, this could be anybody. Why you? Why not you? Second to that, I don't believe, so one, I believe in Jesus. I'm a follower of Jesus, but I don't believe Jesus chose me for this exact thing. I believe Jesus wants greatness for all of us. But the fact that my decision around how I want to live my life is one of every day to the fullest. I'm never going to hold back. I literally don't know how long I'm going to be, and none of us do. And I don't want to live a mediocre, boring life. And so, yes, there's grace, there's luck, there's chance, there's influence, there's network, there's timing. But then there's also a big part around me backing myself. And I was in a conversation with Renier Creel from the Open Letter. Our pod is launching tomorrow. And he said, I just want to get it right. He asked me a question, and I said, like, at any point in time, you have the decision in your life to actually decide what you want to do with it. And often I think people are scared, but at the same time, we said, you have to also be a bit naive. Like, in a weird way, you should fundamentally believe this can work. Because if you start considering everything that can go wrong,
you won't do it.
You won't do it. Like the founder of this massive company, I just forgot the name. What's this massive company building all the chips now?
NVIDIA.
Yes.
NVIDIA.
Yeah. Like 12 years later, billionaires, like if I knew what I know now, I wouldn't have done it. And that's exactly the point. So why me? Why not me? Why not you?
Okay, take us through you and Martinus. When did he decide to did you need the money or did you need the expertise of him in the business?
Look, I think it didn't start off like that. It started off with him. I still have the WhatsApping me going, what's your plan with this tool? I have an idea. Do you want to join forces? He had this 10-bullet list of what his next business should look like. We had many chats around, well, we can tick this together. We have beautiful complementary strengths. So he's highly analytical, he's an accountant, he's the introvert, he's the thinker, he's the analyst. He's very good with deal making. He's just an overall genius. Whereas I'm the industry expert, I know the environment, I'm deeply passionate about HR, hiring, selection, the tool, human behavior, good speaker. And together we were like, yeah, this makes sense. You know, let's go and do this. Then, of course, from there, to have those skills and the financial backing to, because I think that's one of the challenges in the startup environment is you underestimate the cost. And you can drag on for quite some time, but never really make a big dent if you don't have money. Like, let's just consider, for example, marketing. If you don't have a budget on marketing, how do you create brand awareness? How do you get yourself out there? But that costs money, resources. I often see great ideas of cool products with a very mediocre website. And I can see it's because the founder is not prepared, and it's expensive. And maybe you're not prepared, or maybe you just literally don't have the money. But so yes, it was very useful to have Marnus's resources backing the initial startup.
I still remember he posted a photo on Instagram, I think, of a open warehouse, like a building, where two guys sat and coded, and he said, "This is the new," and that's where I saw it for the first time. I want to quickly go into the business model and maybe explain to us how Wamly works. What is it? If
Sure.
nobody know about it.
So it's a platform. It's a tech platform. All our clients have their own instance. It's not an app. It's all web-based. And basically, our technology facilitates the hiring process with the candidate. So from the moment the candidate applies for a role, they're in Wamly, completing questionnaires, uploading documents, doing a video interview, and I'll double click on that in a second. And we're adding more features as we go along. But you have the ability with Wamly, and that's the stat you read in the very beginning, is to cut down the time to hire, because a lot of what is manually done in sequential steps by most organizations when they fill a vacancy, our technology does in one go. The big parts, and this is where it started in the very beginning, is the video interview. So the technology will facilitate and record an interview with the candidate without anybody else having to be on the other side of the screen. So it's not like a Zoom or a Teams. It's the candidate and Wamly. And the question is on the screen. The webcam activates on your cell phone, tablet, or computer. You're answering while being recorded. And then HR and line managers at their own convenient time can log in whenever they want to and go and look at the candidates, very quickly comment, score, and decide within 2 minutes, is Franco going to go to the final interview or the next round or not? And just as a side comment, the reason why it works so well is because people don't look like their CVs. You pick up a CV, you see education, experience, skills, a nice photo, Hoërskool office, cool. That's it. You have hundreds of CVs. Who do you pick for an interview? So now you pick. And then I come into the boardroom for the interview. I sit down, and within 5 minutes, the panel is like,
It's not the right guy.
it's not the right guy. But now I can't ask you to leave. That's
You must sit there.
You must sit there. In Wamly, it's like, next. So
Rickard went through your family for a interview long ago,
Oh, nice.
and he said he was like a block or something, and they asked him what shape did he see, and he said the wrong one, and it cancelled. So that's the technology of sorting out.
it's part of it.
It's part of it.
It's
yeah.
part of it, yeah.
What differentiates Wamly with other competitors that you have? What's different?
Yeah. It's a great question. I think when we started out as video interview, we were competing with hundreds of global competitors. There weren't many in Africa and South Africa, but we weren't different in terms of core functionality. What differentiated us in the beginning was everything around it. So having a deep expert who genuinely cares about the industry present the product as opposed to a salesperson. Having a massive focus on customer care and account management from day one. Having a deep focus on marketing and the marketing principles around not talking about your product all the time, but giving back value to the community. So we have, fast forward now, various other channels that has got nothing to do with our tech. The HR Roundtable, the podcast, Solving the People Puzzle, quarterly events where we bring 200 HR professionals together. And we don't talk about Wamly at all. We talk about HR, and we talk about hiring trends, or we talk about challenges that HR face. And so being those thought leaders and being the authentic version as opposed to here's a product, buy it. I think that differentiates us. If I look at the product now, we've added a lot apart from the video interview, where you'd probably go a long way now globally to find a system that can do what our system does.
Were there anything that failed in the beginning terribly?
There's still things failing. You asked me earlier about lessons learned or challenges. One of the things, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to the ideology in my head or the plan on my window. But one of the things I had to learn very quickly is that nothing in this space is ever going to be perfect or should be perfect. We build Wamly in an iterative way, and then we gather feedback. And
So you need to fail.
You need to fail, and you need to fail fast. And I know there's books and theories around it out there, but in our context, it's gathering enough feedback to be convinced to build something, but then being completely okay that you build, you can't be emotionally too attached to let it go.
Yes, I'm gonna record that and rewind it.
So the moment you become too emotionally attached to the thing that you think should work, you're missing the point. Marnus subsequently left and immigrated to Barcelona, and I never, in my wildest dreams, imagined that would happen. And I had to let go of that as well. We're still very good friends. He's a shareholder, board member, trusted advisor of mine. But along the entire journey, you're going to have to let go and accept failure. Clients will terminate. You will get bad ratings. Competitors will literally copy your app and the wording in your app. That happened to us. 2.5 years ago, there was a client or a company who spinned up a video tool with literally our copy. And we had to persevere through that. So it's part of the game.
I want to quickly talk about growth and scaling the business. What strategies was most effective on scaling Wamly beyond South Africa?
I think the fact that you mentioned South Africa at the end of the question is an important point for me to just double click on. I obviously in the last 4 years have been spending an enormous amount of time reading and listening to podcasts and YouTube videos around B2B SaaS businesses. And unfortunately, the majority of the content that one is able to consume is American. And the American B2B SaaS environment is very different to the South African one. So in the States, there's this beautiful model. You have your SDRs, sales development reps, making outbound calls with a playbook. And then this playbook needs to convert into demos, and the demo converts into a sign-up, and the sign-up goes into an onboarding and training implementation process that an AE account executive takes care of. And it's this beautiful playbook, and you have objection handling, and you have strategies to generate leads, and you're buying. Long story short, none of that worked for us. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's a B2B SaaS business listening now going, it's working for you, and that's amazing. Please hit me up on LinkedIn. But for us, our strategy was a very true, authentic relationship building one, which does have its limitations in terms of scale, because because it's so high touch and so relational, you can only see and speak and meet so many people. But product market fit is equally an as important part of the question, because the closer you are to product market fit, the less high touch relational strategies you need. I mean, have you ever heard anybody of OpenAI or ChatGPT speak anywhere? No. And I want to say the entire world is using it because it's just such a perfect product market fit. So that's part of the scale strategy is to get the product in such a space where we'll never lose our value around customer focus and customer care. I mean, our biggest team in Wamly is the customer experience team. They're bigger than the developers. They're bigger than all the other teams because it's a deep focus of ours to never lose that. But if you talk international scale and you talk scale at a rapid rate, you need deep product market fit where clients don't view you as a nice to have. It's a must-have. I cannot, for the candidate and for the HR department, I can't do this without Wamly. And then from there, the scale will happen organically. If you try and force it, you're just going to burn money.
Social media, what has the impact been with social media? You guys use it quite a lot.
Yeah. It was one of our strategies from the very beginning is to get the word and the thought leadership and the image and the brand out there. Like, we have the amazing privilege. We have phenomenal clients. The one I want to single out now is because of the question. We buy cars. I mean, they're everywhere, right? They're on the radio. They're on billboards. That's just incredible business just listed, and a big part of that last 10 years of them is just their appreciation for spending money on marketing. And so social media is one of our channels where we have different strategies for the different channels. On Instagram, it's more fun, our culture, us, traveling, making selfies, me talking in an Uber. Whereas on LinkedIn, it's thought leadership and sharing that is valuable to the followers that we've got. But I think in this day and age, if you don't put a focus on digital marketing, you're dead.
You're going nowhere.
Yeah. It's by the way, not a sales strategy of ours. Sorry, I just want to say that. It's maybe because of our audience or our product or the industry we're in, but it's very different to B2C, business to consumer, where a freedom of movement uses social media literally as a lead generation and a conversion funnel. I've bought many farm products by just clicking on Instagram shop.
Yeah.
Like B2B doesn't work like that. It's around creating that army of loyal champions.
And maybe like a brand established.
100%. Brand awareness.
Yeah,
100%.
Definitely
Yeah.
strategy. Leadership and your team, I quickly just want to touch on that. What is your leadership style, and has it changed over the years? Obviously with Marnus going, has it changed, and what is it at the moment? How is it?
It's interesting you asked that. I wouldn't call myself a very good leader. And because I don't like micromanaging, I don't like being in too many conversations where too many decisions have to be made. I don't have the need to know everything. I'm very comfortable doing the thing that I do well. So with that being said, I have found myself in my entire life in many leadership roles. School, varsity, in business, and now CEO. And again, I wasn't the first CEO of Wamly. I never wanted to be the CEO. Marnus was. So what is my leadership style? I think it is, I love to collaborate. So I hardly ever make decisions in isolation. I'll pull people into this boardroom. We'll write on the windows. We'll challenge each other's ideas. And I hardly ever step into the conversation with a desired outcome. And so it's super important in terms of Wamly and myself to have really clever people around me.
That's my next question.
Yes.
What is your qualities you look for in building your team?
I never want to be the cleverest person in the room, and I am not. I have phenomenal individuals here and on our board, and our investors and clients that I often reach out to. I think being vulnerable and authentic is one of the best qualities that I've got. I don't mind being wrong. I don't mind being vulnerable. I don't mind saying sorry. And I don't mind asking. If I'm unsure, I'll ask.
That's awesome. What do you hate about what you do?
Oh. Listen, for anybody listening to this and you drive on the N1, you see our logo, you think, oh, I want to be that. Awesome. Like, aspire to it, go for it. But just know this is something else. Like, one, it's lonely at the top. As much as you have your family, your friends, your spouse, your team cheering you on, ultimately the buck stops with you. I'm responsible for salaries every month, for the rent of the building. I still feel responsible for every client that I signed up. So there's a deep sense of responsibility that weighs a lot. I often think about that in relation to what is Elon Musk feeling right now. Okay, that's a big jump, but it's lonely. It's a lot of stress. It's a very unselfish thing. You do this because you don't want to work for a boss, but then you end up in a different space around pressure. Like, when I used to work at TTS and I drive home on a Friday, it's weekend.
You're done.
Now I drive home on a Friday and I field 20 calls Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we're back at it on Monday. I don't particularly hate anything, but those are the challenges. You're never off. You have to create pockets where you can rest. I'm not that founder who works 2:00 in the morning. I deeply value sleep and mental health and well-being. But if you don't, it's all consuming.
What advice would you give aspiring entrepreneurs?
Yes, I often get this question and I always answer it in the same way. So let me do it again. I think often aspiring entrepreneurs, want to figure everything out before they start. I need to have the perfect plan, the perfect product, the perfect pricing model, the perfect website. I need to have all my ducks in a row before I start. And I think that's wrong. I'm not saying be irresponsible, but the best learning happens on a Wednesday afternoon while you're busy. You're never going to have it all figured out. You're never going to have this perfect product. It's never going to be perfect. So stop waiting. Like if you have the resources, you have the mind, you have the idea, back yourself and go for it. I think maybe just the second point, this is not a jail. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Like Wamly is, as much as it is my life, it's not my identity. Wamly can close down tomorrow. I'll be okay. And so if you can emotionally look at it as a game that you're playing and just back yourself and have fun, go for it.
Where do you see Wamly in 5 years?
Oof. Love. No. We do have a long-term strategy, and we will continue to build in the Wamly app features that enable our vision, and that is to help the world hire better people faster. So you mentioned earlier that we are in multiple countries and we want to continue to expand, but there's a big focus now on the product and developing the product to a point where my wife is an industrial psychologist as well and also passionate about this industry. The dream is not to have our kids work here one day. I don't have a line in the sand, but there is definitely a exit strategy with Wamly. That doesn't mean that we will just stop one day. I think it organically will happen. We have been approached already, and we said, no, we're having too much fun, and this is too exciting. But we have a clear strategy around building the product, scaling it globally, adding value, and who knows, maybe I listen one day to this podcast when I'm 55 and I'm still busy with Wamly. Definitely not as running it as the CEO. But yeah, that's the plan. I mean, we still have so much to do, so much to build, so many places to go. I kind of feel like we're just getting started, and it's 4 years.
It's awesome. Francois, last question. What is success to you?
Yeah. I mean, isn't that one of the best existential questions you could ever ask? I think for me, success is flow. So what do I mean by that? When I'm in flow, it's that perfect sweet spot where my capability matches the complexity of the task or the environment. And when I'm able to operate from a state of flow, I feel successful. Success for me is not a number, it's not a milestone, it's not a product, it's those things. I mean, we have revenue milestones, and when you hit that one, and it's like it's incredible, and then the next day you're off to the next target. So you cannot define success around money or a specific point in the business or product or your relationships or any of that. Like for me, success is flow, and when I'm in flow, I am successful. It's this ongoing transformational journey of growth and flow.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. With
Amazing.
that, we're
Thank
gonna-
you so
we're gonna
much.
end.
I appreciate it.
All the best with
Thank you.
the future.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
man.